Play. I've got my air sticks out there. Welcome on. Bienvenue. Welcome once again to another IPSA Kind of Magic. I don't know what's going on because I've been monitoring it, and over the last 4 or 5 occasions, we are now getting on average between 50 and 200 visitors watching. So welcome all of you. And to anybody who's just come across us, welcome as well. Now, IPSA Kind of Magic is literally a vehicle for promoting the independent personal search agents. Currently an organization chaired by Hamish. Jackie is intimately associated by being an associate consultant, something like that. Is that fair?
Executive consultant, yeah.
Executive. That, you see, ladies and gentlemen, that difference between an associate consultant and an executive consultant. Executive consultants actually do things. Mahesh is a current member of IPSA, and
we could add into that he's a board member as well.
I'm sorry, a chairman, a board member. Yes. Let's hope he's not bored. And today's topic is all about HMLR, local land charges. Are they coming of age, or is it, in fact, is there room for improvement? And as is traditional on this channel, I throw Hamish mercilessly under the bus.
Well, very, very fortunate, because I haven't spoken to Mahesh since this wondrous new experience of his. So I'm looking forward to finding out how things went at the wondrous Bridge End. Those of you within IPSA will actually sort of know the sort of long-standing experience of both Jackie and Mahesh. I mean, they both have worked very, very deeply within the land charges offices. Jackie running one, and of course Mahesh digitising. So he's seen digitisation right from the very, very start. And one of the things that we have actually sort of found, there have been, and part of it because of the way in which we're able to work with Land Registry, but as they've unfolded, as they've taken on board more councils where they're doing this land charges collection, because it's only a collection, they're not actually creating the land charges, that's up to the councils still. We're actually sort of finding that because we're working with them, we are able to smoothen out certain aspects which weren't working right in the first place. Not all of it, because we still have there's much work that still needs to be refined. And in actual fact, Mahesh, he's going to continue working. He's going to be working more directly with Land Registry as well. So if you like, we've got some experts here who know a darn sight more about this than I ever would, which is just as well.
3 experts and little old me. Jackie, I'm going to throw you straight in there. Is it coming of age, or is there room for improvement?
I think with anything, there's always room for improvement. As Hamish said, that they are getting there, and I think they're taking on board a lot of what the people that use the system are saying was wrong with it. They're making improvements all the time. As I'm now retired, I haven't been on there for quite some time, fortunately. But I know the mistakes that I came across, and I think some of them are being addressed. It's just I sometimes think the Land Registry thought this would be an easy job. And as Mahesh knows, and I know, it's not an easy job. The biggest thing is accuracy. And if the register is not accurate, it creates more and more work.
Well, is it? We were talking the other day on property matters, actually, with Hamish, weren't we? About the fact that data is all dependent on it being worth looking at. And if it's inaccurate, then you might as well have got pictures of pineapples and grapes there.
Yeah, it's got to be accurate. And the thing is, with land charges, there's so many mistakes that can be made by human error, and sometimes that comes down to laziness. I mean, many times you look at things and think, well, why is that registered there? And you think, well, that person couldn't be bothered to register it properly and just thought, oh, I'll do it on the whole area rather than on the individual property. So it's coming of age to a certain extent. But as I say, like anything, there is always room for improvement. Things are always moving and changing. So they've got to keep up with the changes that are always coming, because things come off the register, things go on. New things are introduced by the councils, new conservation areas, new tree preservation orders, and things like that. And I sometimes think they've realised now that they've bit off a little bit more than they can chew, and it possibly does still need tweaking.
Mahesh, you've been intimately involved in digitisation, and I have to say, the way we were sold this pup at the beginning was digitisation was going to solve all the problems. Is it come of age? Does it need room for improvement?
There is, as Jackie said, sort of, there is quite a bit of improvement required in the system. And as Hamish said, sort of, obviously, when Land Registry took it over, they didn't really envisage how difficult this process would be, even though they knew that the 270 odd councils, or however many there are in the UK, have all got a different system. So you're trying to amalgamate 100 odd, 200 odd systems into one all singing, all dancing system. It just does not work. There are solutions to it, which the Land Registry decided not to go down. Could be their downfall. At the moment, it seems in different areas it works differently. So I know with Bridgend, they've only just come live 2 weeks ago. So I'm only just starting to use their system for their searches. And already with one of my properties that I did a search on, the data is incorrect, because there's a compulsory purchase order on a bit of land which doesn't affect the property anymore, because it's been removed off the register, because it's been crossed off the maps, and yet it's still showing on the system. So one that I've got to go back to Bridgend on. But yes, there is a lot of improvement still required with the Land Registry system.
But in your experience, do you feel like there is the willingness to make the changes and look at it? Because it feels to me that, if I can paraphrase what Jackie said, she hasn't looked at it for a good while, and there were problems then, and you're looking at it now, and there are problems now. What's really going on?
I think the biggest issue that they've got is that they've got too many people who are sort of not really, as Jackie said, sort of they're not really into the system. The land charge, the way the system works is the local land charges officer at the council has to register all the entries, but they're not getting paid for it. So Land Registry are basically selling their local land charge search for £15 or whatever else it is. But the local land charges officer, whereas they were getting the fee for that LLC1 search, they're no longer getting that fee. And so you're basically asking somebody to do something for nothing, and they're not getting paid for it. So you're basically saying, well, maintain this register for us. We're not going to pay you anything to do it. We're just going to give you a subsidy initially to start off with, and that's all it's going to be.
Hamish, it's follow the money yet again, it seems.
Well, it's a bit, and you'll know all about this. It's about, you've got to be careful when you're buying pups. You don't know quite what's going to unfold as these come along, because there's all sorts of suggestions. And I think that sadly, we do actually feel for this because of our relationship that we have with the local councils, that very often, and it won't actually be the land charges office itself. It wasn't the land charges officers that wanted this to pass into the hands of Land Registry any more than it's land charges, the land charges officers themselves that are being sold the style of the way in which the data is being introduced, the way everything's being digitized. But they kept getting told, the big boys up there who spend the money, like you say, chasing the money, they're told, oh, you won't need nearly as many people, this will happen, and that will happen. So they get rid of the people, then find out and they've got to try and fill in the mess afterwards. in many cases. However, there will be teething challenges, which is one of the advantages, because IPSA members, whatever work they actually refine the work that comes from land charges, or I should say that comes from land registry by way of land charges. And that isn't necessarily the case when we look at what the corporate or the factory sort of style of conveyancer does, because they don't know the area anyway. I mean, one of the great things is, I mean, probably Mahesh wouldn't want to admit how many, as we were speaking about earlier, how many thousands of miles he's covered between his place and Bridgend to carry out all of this particular sort of work. That's going to save that time, but it does mean we need to be extra careful. And in many instances, and I think Jackie found this too, particularly because he actually, in many of the councils up in Yorkshire, they were actually becoming unitary authorities. So that they'd already got rid of staff. They pulled in this whole thing. They sent it out to land registry. So they've got a combination of two aspects to. So there's a fair bit of extra work. Then you won't necessarily be able to sort of say, yeah, that's okay, I'll just grab that and send it out again. Because you are putting more work into the hands of solicitors by doing it that particular way.
Jackie, if the very people who used to get some sort of income from being associated with keeping the data up to date no longer have it, and as Mahesh say, therefore there's basically indolence, no real willingness to do anything about it, doesn't mean we're stuck in stalemate. The data is never going to be truly on the money.
Well, yeah, the thing is, I don't know if Mahesh feels this way. Land charges, as I've said before, was always the poor man of the council. There was very rarely money poured into it, yet it was a money-making office, a real money-making office. And nobody understood what land charges was until they came to move. Then they realised what land charges does. And for years and years and years, the land charges departments didn't have any money poured into them. There was no training. It was left to somebody else in the office to train the new people coming in. And if that person wasn't quite au fait with the system, the mistakes they make and the things they didn't know was then passed on.
Amplified.
So yeah, it amplified, and it's that, and it's always been like that. And in a lot of ways, instead of spending all these millions on one register, that money to me should have been poured into the local councils to bring them up to a standard that was fit for how things are going in conveyancing today. We all know it's going digitised. They're trying to get it everything so it's faster and quicker. And less of a hassle than it is, because it is a hassle to move home, very stressful. So someone must have come up with this idea, let's put it all into one and let's have everything on one register. Well, sounds great, but as we all know, a system, I mean, I'm not into computers, I'm like Mahesh, I'm not very good with tech. Is that system going to get so overloaded that when it's got all the information, does it start to crash? Does it start to go down? Do they lose information when it goes down? I mean, I know that's happened a couple of times. A lot of information's been lost and they've had to redo it again. So instead of, say, I covered 15 councils and one council might say, we're having an upgrade, it might be a couple of days. Or a week before it's up and running, instead of having just one council that's holding you back, we could have the whole country, the whole of England and Wales,
so what
not being able to carry out searches.
What you're saying is putting all eggs in one basket is frankly madness, because if that basket has a hole in it, you lose all the eggs.
Yes.
Look, I am a technologist and I've spent a lot of time working with companies, and frankly, you're absolutely on the money. The best way of running these things is distributed media. That's to say, you have multiple different databases which you can access through one interface. That would be the right way of doing it, but I don't think they're doing that. I think they're trying to absorb it into one big glob, and that way madness lies. Mahesh, do you think that There's no ever be. I don't know. It just seems to me there's no willingness on the part of the people who are the data keepers to make sure the data is correct and up to date. More data is being put on all the time because of the initiative to digitize everything. That means that existing mistakes will get compounded rather than fixed.
Mm-hmm.
We're on a hiding to nowhere.
We are. I mean, every system will have improvements at the end of the day. Sort of, obviously, the land registry are learning on a daily basis, sort of what things are going wrong, what things are being done correctly. I must admit, from the certain entries that I've seen on the land charges register for Bridgend, if that's an example for anything that's moving forward, I think it's going to work really well. Their data is, they've actually entered the information correctly with a sufficient amount of information for you to actually put into your report. It's just the teething issues, and I know with having had a great relationship with land charges in Bridgend, they've said to me, sort of, once you spot an error, let us know, and we'll obviously get it sorted. So obviously that's one council which is willing to learn and obviously benefit. I mean, I must admit, with Bridgend, their experience is quite low. I mean, in terms of a land charges officer, I think the longest serving member of staff there as a land charges officer is probably 4 years, maybe 5 years.
Right.
And as he knows, in land charges terms, 4 or 5 years is basically nothing really.
Yes.
I mean, I've been doing this job for 32 odd years. This job, I still don't know everything.
No.
But obviously, I've got the experience to know when things are wrong and when things are right, sort of thing. So
yeah, but to me, it seems that, I mean, talking about data integrity, I know everybody's going to start snoozing now, but if you can't trust the data is 100% on the money, and you're getting doing searches which can change the way the largest single fee that any human pays, usually, I mean, except for those people buying stupid cars and everything, but that usually pays for stuff. Everything can rest on this. Hamish, we're still putting our hands, and this is where the benefits of IPSA membership is that IPSA members, as you just demonstrated, Mahesh, have a relationship with a series of councils and with a series of locations, and hence over 30 years have built up relationship with it and a knowledge base of what really goes on. Whereas if you're going to a factory conveyancer, Hamish, they don't have that kind of relationship. They're pushing buttons and bloop, 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 out comes the answer. Well, it must be right. Off we go.
I think we have it's not, I think we do have a situation that there are different methods and strategies employed by different people, and of course certain aspects will depend obviously on the size of a land charge office in the first place, because if it's only a one-man band, to a certain extent it may help. And we've got some offices that we deal with down here in the south. There's one person, they go off on holiday, that's the end of it until they come back. So there is an advantage of that work being carried out by land registry because it doesn't hold you up. However, and this is something that we all agree to, all of the information that comes out of it, we need to refine it. And as Mahesh also explains, there's some councils we can work with quite readily. And in fairness, the majority of them are like that. And you say, oh, by the way, we've picked up on this. And what is interesting, it is the members of IPSA who have actually responded to land registry and do speak to land registry about these errors, as well as they are going to be more likely to actually follow up and speak to the land charges officers as well to say, look, we've got this situation here. Unfortunately, because of the methodology, because of the pace, because of how it goes, because it's just the way that if you like, the corporate conveyancing side of things, they've just got to push it through.
Yeah.
They don't have a challenge. They don't have a chance to actually check it out, even if they wanted to, because they'll be told, "Hey, look, get a move on. these things are stacking up. Just get it done.
And well, this is the very reason why using an IPSA member to do these searches, it pays you dividends, stops you from making an absolute Charlie of yourself without having checked the facts are real. It only remains for me to say thank you so much for Hamish McClare of Search and Conveyor who put this thing together, Jackie Dyson, a long-time guest of the show, and thank you so much for appearing. And Mahesh, thank you so much yourself from Kerai Property Searches. And to you out there, thank you very much for tuning in. As I said, I'm blown away by the latest interactions I'm seeing with people commenting after the fact and sharing far and wide. I would recommend, if you are a solicitor, someone conveyancer of some sort, and you're looking to do searches, please find your local IPSA member and use them. You're going to thank me later. Until next time, try and keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Know that the truth is out there, to quote something. Until next time, have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.